Hi, my name is Mark Vina. I'm here with Smart Tech Research. Actually, I own Smart Tech Research, and I'm not here with them. But I'm here at the Snapdragon Summit, sponsored by Qualcomm. I'm here with an illustrious set of analysts and journalists. I'll say that very cautiously, Rob.
Yeah, you're generous.
Yeah, I'm being very generous. But let me go down the horn here, and I'll let people introduce themselves. Rob, why don't you kick it off?
Hello, I'm Rob Pegoraro. I'm a freelance technology journalist based just outside of Washington, D.C. I'm here on behalf of PC Mag. You can also find me at Fast Company, Wirecutter, and many other fine publications.
Oh.
Well, I'm Mike Feibus of Feibus Tech, an industry analyst firm covering, among other things, client devices. You can find me at USA Today, OEM Magazine, Market Watch, and of course, FeibusTech.com.
Awesome. I'm Dave Altavilla. I am the principal analyst and co-founder of Hot Tech Vision and Analysis. I'm also editor-in-chief of HotHardware.com. You can find me on Forbes. You can find me at Hot Hardware and kind of all over the web, like the Scourge. But anyways, down to Francis.
Thanks, Dave. Francis Sideco, partner and principal analyst for Tirias Research. You can find us on Forbes.com, EE Times, but also on our YouTube channel and Spotify and iTunes for podcasts.
That's great. Well, let me just kick this off by saying this is my first Snapdragon Summit.
It took you so long.
Better late than never.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's my philosophy about things. And it's an interesting event. And even though, yes, it's in a lavish place, Hawaii, not a bad place to hang out for a few days. What I have found with Qualcomm in general, and even this event, yes, it's extremely well produced and very organized. And I think analysts and journalists really appreciate that. But I also like the fact that the word I would use is there's a humility about the way the company approaches kind of the position in the marketplace that they have right now. They've had tremendous success in the mobile device space. That's nothing new. They've recently broken to the CoPilot PC area where they're really enjoying quite a bit of success. And now the automotive area got special attention here. They spent an entire day yesterday to the whole smart car space, and we got a chance to see some demos yesterday that are kind of interesting. Although the demos did not feature the new technology that they just announced yesterday. But let me get Francis. Let me start with you. Get your just general impressions of the event and what things kind of stood out to you.
Well, what really stands out to me, I've been going to this since the first one 9 years ago.
Always in Hawaii?
It will always have been in Hawaii. A couple hotels down that
Not
way.
North New Jersey. That was never chosen as a venue.
That was like the precursor.
Not
They
even
had
down
a
the
New
shore?
York event. Yeah, they have a New York event, and then they moved it over here. So one thing that struck me as very different between the early days and now is how it's followed Cristiano's vision of diversifying their revenue channels, right? In the early days, it was all about smartphones, 5G, maybe a little bit of connectivity here and there, and so forth. But if you notice this time around, yes, there was definitely the 8 Elite on the mobile side. And last year it was all about the X Elite for PC.
Yes.
So back to mobile this year, but then, like you said, day 2 is automotive, and even spent some time on AI and XR and AR. So you can really see the strategy, deploying itself even in these events that they spend a lot of money on.
Now, Dave, with respect to the smart car, the automotive segment, it's really very much a different category,
Right.
than mobile, even PC, different life cycles. You've got the politics of the different car OEMs. You've got, maybe one thing one of you guys can comment on, but Dave, you give a shot in terms of how CarPlay 2.0 from Apple kind of is on a bit of a collision course to a degree with what Qualcomm is doing, purely because of the politics within the automotive category. Who owns the dashboard?
Right.
And we obviously know if it's Apple, we know who owns the dashboard.
Yeah.
But give me your perspective specific to the automotive stuff that we saw yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it's impressive technology that's evolving. Qualcomm has centered around Unreal Engine for a software layer in the experience. The technology they're bringing from a chip standpoint is their new Orion core based solutions.
Yes.
That they've brought to PCs, Snapdragon X PCs, now to Snapdragon 8 Elite phones, and to the car. So what's impressive there is that they're scaling this similar CPU architecture, same CPU core across all these various platforms. So making use of that, scalable architecture that they have, and really, enhancing the experience from an AI standpoint, from whether it's digital assistant, whether it's even car maintenance and things like that, all driven with a really slick UI on Unreal Engine. So impressive stuff, very differentiated. I think we saw BMW here, we saw Rivian here with their demo of the technology. Didn't have the new processors under the hood because they're just announced. That takes a few years, longer gestation period for the auto designs. Yeah, but you can see the platform in action now, and you can see the vision. So it's impressive stuff. I really enjoyed it.
And Mike, from again going into the automotive category, the interesting thing, it's not about just entertainment and navigation. Their capability allows you, and there were I saw some of the demos, actually was not in the cars themselves, but the demos were inside some of the conference rooms. Demos that were built around, hey, here's features of the car that allow you, with using AI, to be able to, first of all, make adjustments, change things. We all know with today's cars, just to find out what the air pressure of the tires are, it may take you 10 minutes, and then checking out a YouTube video to find out, okay, what menus do I navigate through? So the hundreds of settings now that allow you to customize just the operation of the car with their capability, and of course with AI, allows you to do that much more productively and much more easily. Any comments in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, as Durga said today, and he's a SVP in charge of AI, basically, that AI is the new UI, which I love that, because that's really what's happening. We won't have to be paging through menus. We'll just say, this is what we want, and that's what happens. And in fact, there were a few demos from the Chinese automakers that the future, as we think of it, is today in China. They're already doing it.
Yeah.
So, Rob, on that point, as a resident journalist in the group,
The token.
No, I wouldn't say that. We would say that. We wouldn't say. Maybe later tonight at the Luau we'll say that. But Mike just made an interesting observation. Does AI ultimately replace an app? In that, you have, going into the weeds a little bit, like things like Matter for the smart home, which is in theory supposed to make you don't have to worry about whether you're using Alexa, or whether you're using.
We know how well that's gone so far.
How that's worked out.
Not awesome, as you pointed out to me.
But in theory, AI could replace you don't have to worry about the interface. And we all know that even at a smartphone level, consumers don't want to have 27 different apps to control 27 things. They like everything to be integrated. So any commentary from that angle?
I don't know. I'm a little skeptical of the whole visions of AI in the car. A lot of the use cases they threw out, like the idea that while you're driving, you'd remember it's somebody's birthday, and the car sends a greeting card with some art done up on the fly by an on-device version of Simple Diffusion or whatever. Yeah. Do we need that? They had another one. One of the Qualcomm executives said, imagine them driving down the freeway in San Diego and the Blue Angels fly over. I want to get a picture of it. The AI would take that from the cameras outside. I mean, that's neat, but I think more people would be like, can your car just make sure I get to a car charger that actually works and there's no line? Yeah. That's what I need.
Yes.
And in the car domain especially, like, it is something, until we have autonomous driving that works really well in all use cases, drivers need to pay attention. And so you can't have AI systems that hallucinate or come up with weird responses on the fly, because as one of the tech journalists here pointed out, I'm behind the wheel of my 3,000-pound death box on the highway. This needs to work.
Yeah.
Interesting. Mike, specific on the mobile side, anything that jumped out at you specifically?
Well, I think, I'm really glad that they brought the Elite brand into the smartphone space, because this really is a leap above. And by the way, this isn't easy. This isn't just a rebranding of Elite in compute to Elite in smartphone and Elite in
notebooks,
in
laptops,
and automotive.
They're
they are optimized for the workload. So from the ground up, pretty much, and it's really impressive how they're taking. And remember, the team started in Nuvia, building for a completely different market, the data center. And so it's impressive how they're able to focus on the workloads, optimize for that, and then really bring a leap above, which is now what we're seeing in smartphones.
And Dave, from a sheer marketing standpoint, this is really interesting. I got to give a shout out to Don McGuire and what the team has done. Tech branding has almost the last I would even say the last 10 years, has kind of gone out of vogue. The Intel Inside stuff is not around anymore.
Right.
They wrap Intel like to wrap dollar bills around PCs, which made the brand very ubiquitous, but at the same time, it was very costly, and we could have a podcast on that by itself. Yeah. But the fact that Don and the Qualcomm marketing team has done this incredible job. I mean, they threw out threw out a factoid on the first day that basically says that the impressions they've generated through their initiative with Manchester football and
the Man United jersey
kind of thing, they've generated enough sufficient impressions thus far that it was 24 Super Bowl commercials.
Yeah,
which is
billions and billions.
Commercials.
I mean, for those of us in marketing who've done market, that's not a trivial accomplishment.
No, and it's a necessary thing. Obviously, Qualcomm's new on the scene in the PC space. They've been, a bellwether in phones. And they're fairly new. I guess what you would say for the digital cockpit, that's a fairly new thing for them as well. But at any rate, they need to evangelize the Snapdragon brand.
Yes.
They need to get, people to just at least recognize this is the processor inside. This is the technology that's powering the experience. And there's only one way to really do that. And that's to just, get out to the audience as broad and wide as you can, and then connect the name with the technology, the type of experience, whether it's showing the phone, whether it's showing the car, whether it's showing the PC. And they did that really well. And actually want to touch back to something Michael was talking about on the architecture. No small feat. We had a meeting with Gerard, one of the architects they brought over from Nuvia.
Mm-hmm.
That team, he's legendary, capable, Jim Keller level kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
And what they're doing is some serious heavy lifting, and they have the tools and the team now to continue to do so. So it's a powerful force, and the brand behind it, they're trying to build that up to match the hardware.
Well, and you need that kind of intellectual horsepower, because even though a company may have a leadership position, which Qualcomm clearly does, to maintain that lead.
Yeah.
That you can't do that with mediocre talent. And obviously folks like that make a big difference.
Yeah.
Francis, from a marketing standpoint, just going back to the branding piece that fascinated me, you flash back 10 or 15 years, the Intel Inside branding was really about more or less, hey, I have an Intel chip in my computer. I'm not sure consumers really understood beyond that, what the advantage was. In many ways, Qualcomm's marketing has to go, it's got a bit of a higher ask, meaning that not only do you want to care about, I've got Snapdragon in my car, or Snapdragon in my phone, or Snapdragon in my laptop, they're trying to articulate that the architecture of their silicon is really excelled for AI. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the challenges that Qualcomm is going to have, and by extension Microsoft have, is showing usage models, especially with laptops, with CoPilot, of usage models that people really care about. I mean, there's a lot of, engineers get wrapped up with, I can do that. That's really cool. But, nobody would actually do it. So what are your thoughts in terms of, looking at AI from a real practical, hey, here's things that are going to move the needle. Here are the things that are going to, going to compel me to go to a Best Buy and buy a new CoPilot PC?
Sure. So I think there's a couple things to unpack in what you just said. First of all, back then in the, when Intel and Intel Inside was happening, between then and now, consumers are a lot more sophisticated when it comes to
That's
PCs.
True.
And
that is true.
Back then, the whole Intel Inside thing was all about speeds and feeds, and it was all about clock rate,
gigahertz
going up, clock rate, and all that stuff. And then consumers started to get more sophisticated and realize it's not just about clock rate, it's about memory, it's about workload and all that stuff. And that's one of the challenges now with AI is, as Qualcomm is doing this marketing push, and to your point, they do have to do this kind of marketing in a PC world, because at the end of the day, you're going to go to like a Best Buy or a retail store, and you're going to have even just pick any one OEM, Asus, Dell, Lenovo, whoever, they're going to have a device that is based on Qualcomm and based on their competitors as well.
Right.
And at the end of the day, it's the consumer that's going to go, I want that one.
Mhm.
And so they have to know what that one brings, right? So that's that. But when it comes to AI and workloads, that's what's really important with this whole thing. I think, yes, on the consumer side, you're going to have it's been centering a lot around photo and video manipulation and so forth, and there's
Content
some use to
creation,
that.
right?
I honestly believe the next stage of monetization for AI is in the enterprise.
Mhm.
Not only do you have like recall, for example, the privacy there doesn't become as big of a deal because you already have, when it's a corporate laptop, you already have tracking programs already built in. People expect that to be there. So the privacy thing isn't as important, at least within the context of the enterprise. But a lot of the use cases for generative AI and on device and privacy, security, the horsepower that you need, and then obviously the monetization part, I think is going to come on the enterprise AI side.
And I think that's a great observation because in many ways, the enterprise guys get it in terms of they can rationalize it from an ROI standpoint. There's all kinds of applications that exist at the at the usage model level that does really appeal to enterprise because where on the consumer side, sometimes you got to do a bright shiny object to get people to move the needle. But enterprise guys get it.
Well, I think you push that along further too, and what's going to happen is the enterprise people are going to be able to start using this, and because they have just one device, they're going to start using it in their personal life,
Right.
and then you start having lateral innovation. It's already there; they're already using it, and then people can start seeing, hey, I can actually apply this to my personal life too,
Yeah.
and then it's going to snowball from there.
So you have something
From the consumer perspective, it's really interesting for me to look at how Qualcomm, their laptop venture, is the most visible venture they have. Because you buy a new phone, it doesn't have a Snapdragon logo on the phone
Right.
itself. It might have a little line on the box. And plus, if you buy a phone, it's going to have a Qualcomm chip in it.
Yes.
That's pretty much a given.
Yeah.
But there's a real difference in laptops. And if you're looking for a laptop, you should absolutely be looking at what Qualcomm is doing. And they don't even need to have AI in their pitch. They can honestly say, we can offer battery life and performance that's competitive with the MacBook Air,
Yes.
MacBook of any kind, and Intel has really struggled on that point.
Yeah. Yes, they have.
And the whole CoPilot Plus stuff seems to me really second order stuff. But in cars, the Rivian that was parked near here yesterday, you get in, there was nothing in the interface, the user experience that said Qualcomm is underneath all this.
Right.
And
Which
according
is
to
the way the
Google,
car manufacturers would like it.
only place you will find the word Qualcomm on Rivian's site is in a PDF of software licenses.
Right.
But that's funny about that, though. I did notice those Amazon vans that we have, they say powered by Rivian. So they do say
They got to promote their brand.
Well, I had a thought in the closing keynotes that we saw today, and the director of alliances for IBM research, right?
Mhm.
Blanking on his name, Dr. Eric.
Dulkey.
Yeah. Anyways, there was a comment that basically the small on-device edge AI models that are being powered today are the offspring from the enterprise, right? And I think that's a great analogy for consumers to think about when you talk about on-device AI. It's being engineered, it's being trained in the data center, but these small, more powerful AI models are coming to the edge, and it is going to be, as Durga said, AI is the new UI.
Right.
Yeah, I think just adding on to that, AI is really transformational, and I think it will be something like a motor or the internet. Nobody says they're in the motor market, right? You buy things that the motor makes possible, and I think we will see better targeted agents.
Right.
We ought to get used to saying agents, right?
We got a couple of minutes left here because we're all sweating and we all would like to go to lunch. But I do want to just ask, and I want a quick 15, 20, which I know for all of you guys,
It's not easy. It's not easy.
You can have lunch for 20 seconds. But one word that did not come up, or two words, I should say, that I did ask at one of the sessions, and I got kind of a very political answer, was I didn't hear anything about desktop PCs, and clearly the Snapdragon Elite architecture. Now, a lot of things have to be done for them, and I think the fact that we didn't hear a lot about it doesn't mean that Qualcomm is not going to get into that space.
Yep.
But I do think it's a logical move at some point. That would put additional pressure on that other company in Santa Clara,
Right.
which they probably right now that other company doesn't need that kind of pressure. Another flank that they have a lot of strength in. But what are your thoughts on it? I mean,
No, exactly. If you've got what works for a laptop, the obvious extension of that, small form factor, all-in-one, fanless.
Yes.
It's right on your desk and it makes no noise. Essentially, Qualcomm is as a Windows counter to the MacBook. Now you can have a Windows counter to the Mac Mini.
Yeah, or the
Right.
iMac,
Right.
or the
Yeah.
an iMac.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really going to have to be their space for the foreseeable future because, big and powerful from a CPU perspective, they can definitely do that, but they still have to get NVIDIA and ATI or AMD
Correct.
to write.
Oh, it's not a trivial
drivers,
exercise,
right?
but,
And-
Yeah.
but they,
Well, and not only that, if you think about it, the unit volume is in the laptop, and
yes, that's where the volume is.
the light duty desktop, maybe, and they actually have shown in previous presentations a Snapdragon all-in-one, kind of
Yeah.
form
Yes.
factor. So
was
they
that the
teased it.
dev kit that they were gonna sell, and then they're like, nope, never mind, we're not gonna.
No,
do that.
it wasn't. It was one of the presentations where they had all the partners, and then they showed a bunch of laptops, and then they said it's coming to other form factors, and they showed
Right.
this Snapdragon branded all-in-one.
Yes.
So we'll see, but they're hinting at it.
Well, and they've got the right OEM relationships. They've got relationships with guys like Asus that
Right.
would be a natural to get into that space.
It's early days for them. The fact that it wasn't here this year didn't tell me anything one way or the other. Frankly, last year was the coming out party for their PC business with X Elite. They've focused on mobile and auto this year. Probably next year they'll focus on PC again. The thing about desktop, as you guys mentioned, I think, is there's so many different form factors, and each one of them have their own different requirements. And I think coming from the PC form factor, there are some desktops that lend themselves more to that extension, and then you extend out from
Yes.
there. Because once you get to the more to the workstations or the more specialized like gaming rigs and so forth, you start looking at discrete GPUs, you start looking at
Right.
different kinds of IO. So I think there's a step function process to get there, but it makes sense. That
No.
they'll
I
go
mean, going,
that way.
I will not be surprised if the first iteration of this stuff sometime next year will be some type of iMac like thin form factor, because in that many ways, the only difference between an iMac and a laptop is that it's plugged in,
Yeah.
but it's self-contained.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a PCI Express architecture. That kind of, there's a lot of things that you wouldn't have to burden that category with.
Sure.
But we'll find out. This is all speculation. Well, thanks guys for stopping by. I'm going to see all of you at the luau tonight. Can't wait to see Rob.
Looking forward to it.
Doing the dance.
No one needs to.
And none of that video will be published publicly.
Needs a couple of Mai Tais for
Yeah.
that.
Exactly. And we know, Dave, that will happen. Thanks again, guys.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks,
Thank
Mike.
you.
Take care.
Hi, I'm Carolina Hernandez here from Microsoft to show you how we're making search better in our new CoPilot Plus PCs. Searching for images is hard, and one of the things that we're doing in this CoPilot Plus PCs, leveraging the MPU, is enabling you to describe the images that you're looking for and be able to find them. And so let me show you. So here I have my folder with all my pictures, and what I want to do is to search for a barbecue salad. So I can simply type barbecue salad, and within seconds, Windows finds that I do have an image of barbecue salad in my photos. And notice that nowhere in here there's text or anything with a file name that actually says barbecue salad. Windows understood what I wanted to find and was able to find that just by looking at the contents of the image.
Hello, I'm Eric Funes with Microsoft on the Windows marketing team. Today I'll show you how to use Co-Creator with its latest models, and then we'll use Generative Fill to add any missing elements. So here I have an image that I started already, grassy hills with trees, mountains, and clouds in the background. I'm going to go ahead and add my grassy hill here. I already have the clouds and the mountains added. You don't really need a lot of skills to get desired output for the final image that you have. So as you see, I'm adding the green. Co-Creator is already starting to help me upscale my image to get a much better rendition of my final product. I'm going to go ahead and bring up this creativity meter up higher because I want more help from the AI. and the NPU to give me a better resulting image. So here I have this image. I love it. I'm going to go ahead and tap on it to put it onto the canvas. One thing that I would like to also show you is how to use generative fill. So I have this amazing image here. I'm going to go ahead and select an area. That looks pretty good. And I'm going to say add a winding river. I'm going to hit generate, and the NPU is taking a look of what's on the canvas. It's trying to match the certain style that I have, which in this case, it's oil painting. It's looking at all the surrounding areas just to help incorporate what that looks like. I could keep running this over and over until I get a desired outcome that I'm happy with. Once I'm happy with it, I can go through all the different renditions of it and say, oh, that looks good. And just like that, I've added a river to my original drawing that looks like it was part from the very start.
So this is Remy, and I'm going to show you a quick demo of our Pet Best Take feature, where I'm going to take a burst of photos while Remy jumps after the ball, and then AI is going to use the Hexagon NPU on device to pick the best photo where he's in a great pose, whether he's looking at the camera, jumping for the ball, or in a nice deep stretch. And then we can use our pet hair enhancement to add detail and texture to his hair. Ready? And then if I go back, AI is going to scan through the 60 or so photos I just took and pick which one looks the best. And that's all running on device locally with the Snapdragon 8 Elite. Yeah, so they're right at the height of his jump when he has the ball in his mouth. We go to enhance. And then we can add texture and detail to his coat with those two sliders.
Okay, I'm Howard Rupert. I'm with Qualcomm, and we're demonstrating the Snapdragon Digital Cockpit. So what you're seeing here is a reference design that is running on the Unreal Engine 5. What we're showing is the performance of our graphics, along with AI on the edge and along with audio. So basically, what you're looking at here is a one particular persona called working parent or busy parent, and it kind of it shows customization towards them, or with a grocery list and say like to-do list, reminders, baby monitoring. Let's say you're on vacation. Well, you can do customize it for your social media, charging stations. If it's a rental car, the rental car agent can try to sell you upgrades on the fly. Or let's say you're a delivery driver, so you could do fleet information, a little bit of customization such as sports scores and other things. Now, really what we're trying to show is how flexible we are and just the limits to what you can do. So you see the smooth performance here. Even though we're running simultaneous things at the, you still get good performance with our graphics. Okay, to focus on our AI, all of our AI is running on the edge. And so that means we're not going to the cloud for any of these. So one of the things we did is we loaded an automobile user guide so we can ask questions, because if you're unfamiliar with the vehicle, right, you want to know how to do something. So instead of having to call a service center or using AI in the cloud, right, we're saving resources by having it directly on the edge. So one of the questions we can ask is, how do I adjust my steering wheel? So you can see it goes to the correct page, and then in a moment it'll summarize.
To adjust the steering wheel, you need to fold the lever down completely, grip the steering wheel with both hands, and move the steering wheel to the preferred height and angle to suit your seat position. Once you have adjusted the steering wheel to your liking, you can fold the lever back up.
So we just got a summary of how to do something in the vehicles, and we didn't have to go to the cloud for that or call anybody. The next thing is, let's say this is a rental vehicle, and as we said in the keynotes, you can load multiple models. So let's say we're focusing on, say, like points of interest. So you can ask, and it'll just use the model to load these points of interest. What are some fun things to do in Las Vegas? So what's happening here is this is more of an engineering view. We're just showing the tokens as they come out. And in a moment, we'll show a more user-friendly view.
Here are 3 fun places to visit in Las Vegas.
Okay, and we can be even more friendly by showing it, say, on a map. All right. And so as you can see, we can do quite a few things with our Gen 4 automotive platform.
What we see here is some of the gaming capabilities of the Snapdragon 8 Elite. In this case, showing how it's the world's first mobile platform able to showcase nanite technology from Unreal 5 game engines. What we see here is a scene that's rendered in real time. It's more than 60 million triangles that all put together to create this scene, this cave with increasing amount of detail. For instance, here I can show you all the triangles that compose this scene. And along with this technology and others such as global illumination that mimics the way that the light bounces and catches colors from all the surfaces until it reaches the camera, you can create these hyper-realistic scenes for games that were not possible for games before. This is the same technology that enables games for PCs. Now it's available for mobile for the first time with the Snapdragon 8 Elite.
Oh, hi there. My name is Guillermo, and we're here at Snapdragon Summit demonstrating our latest generation chip. And here we have a web test performance to demonstrate how much quicker you should expect your browser to be with the new Snapdragon 8 Elite. And right now we're performing a test to benchmark a speedometer that renders a bunch of pages and uses a lot of JavaScript. And you will assign a score, and the highest the score, the better the browser's performance, and which translates to better user experience, smoother scrolling, and better app launches. So our latest generation just finished at 32.3, and this is the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, so this is the one from last year, and it's still going here. It should be there shortly, and it's 15. So this is how much better the new generation is.
Hi, this is Mark Vina with Smart Tech Research on day 3 of the Snapdragon Summit. As you can hear, Hawaiian music is being played in the background. I'm here with Tony OConnor, who manages the Analyst Relations Program at Qualcomm. Tony, it's been a magnificent event. My first event.
Yep.
And thank you again for the invite. And we all know that guys like Tony and Lauren Miller and are really the people who are responsible for the success of the event. But Tony, why don't I just give you an opportunity to kind of talk about the maybe some of the planning that goes into this. I mean, it really is a remarkable event. So let's talk a little bit about that and why this event is so important.
Yeah, great idea. Mark, thanks very much for having me on the show.
Sure.
It's great to be here. Always fun working with you. I'm usually behind the camera, right? But it's fun to be on the camera, so thanks for having me on the show. The planning that goes into this thing, I'll tell you, I take about 4% credit. There's a massive team, massive undertaking across all of marketing, product marketing, into all the way up to the execs. I would say kickoff is as soon as March, 6 to 8 months prior to the event taking place. And it's at that point, it's about exploration of what are we looking to talk about, and then what is the run up to getting to the keynote, right, on day one, which is an unexpressible undertaking, I think. But one of my favorite parts of it is engaging with the analysts 3 months out for some message testing on what it is we're looking to announce at the event, and getting your guys' insights on, hey, is this the right approach to bring this message, this product to market? What are consumers going to be looking for? What's the best way to communicate that to the various audiences tuning in, either in the room or tuning into the live stream around the world? So there's a great deal of effort goes into it, but it's always, it pays off dividends,
Yes,
unquestionably, and it's always amazing to be here.
Well, and there's different audiences here. You've got folks like myself, the analyst community, who kind of follow Qualcomm and the tailwinds, the headwinds, and kind of like where the company is winning and losing.
Yeah,
And for
yeah.
the most part, Qualcomm's been winning.
Still winning.
Just,
There you go.
just for the record.
Uh-huh.
But then you've got influencers, you've got journalists that show up as
Yeah.
well. So there's different types of
Media,
audience.
Absolutely.
And the interesting thing is that, and I mentioned this in a prior podcast that I did earlier today with some of the analysts.
Yeah.
Is that Don McGuire's going to get a lot of credit here
Yeah,
because
I agree.
he threw out some numbers that technology branding and technology sponsorship hasn't exactly been in vogue
Yeah.
over the last
Right.
10 years. You had Intel doing the Inside program, but the world was a different place.
Yep. Agreed.
And when Qualcomm decided, with, hey, we've got this thing called Snapdragon, we want to really espouse its value proposition. We think we have a leadership position from a performance standpoint. We can go into the benefits, but it's pretty stellar from a technology offering
It's remarkable,
standpoint.
right? For that,
It really is.
for 1 year essentially.
But Don said, and the numbers are crazy, that the number of impressions that Qualcomm has generated vis-a-vis its sponsorship with the F1 program, the Manchester football program in Europe, which I was able to participate in about 6 months or so.
Yeah.
Actually, it was longer than that.
It's going on a year, right? Because we were there last November.
Right, and that was an education for me.
Yep.
But it's generated enough impressions to do 24 Super Bowl commercials, which blew me away. And the reason why I call that out is that technology, marketing, and it's kind of been not an important thing for many companies, and I think Qualcomm's done a very nice job doing that.
Yeah, yeah. I've been at Qualcomm, you guys, 20 years. Essentially this year, 2004, I was an intern, and I turned into a full-time job in 2005. Absolutely kind of very much enjoy working at the company because I've seen the evolution over the 20 years of a comms company all the way through to what we are today, which is, intelligent computing everywhere. The emphasis that our current CEO, Cristiano Amon, is putting on compute is extraordinary, and it's exactly what the market, the industry needs at this point in time. And then, Cristiano has an amazing lieutenant in Don, where Don is taking the marketing bull by the horns and experimenting, and he's got a great partnership with Cristiano in order to bring those things to market. So the partnership with Manchester United is very exciting. It's just getting started. Like you say, Mark, we were there together in Manchester last year kind of for behind the scenes look before Snapdragon was unveiled as front of shirt for Manchester United. And the numbers that we've seen since the front of shirt has been unveiled are staggering, right? So on that first day of the unveil, we had greater numbers. We were trending higher than Glastonbury, essentially, which is a massive music festival in the UK. So the traction there is just extraordinary. And I think the opportunity is huge too. So yeah, on the marketing front, I think, we're very keen to create a consumer brand for Snapdragon.
Right.
We're in all the products. What we need to help people understand is that Snapdragon Qualcomm is enabling all of these technologies and try to make that a household name. So that's the mission we're on.
Well, you're
It's
well
no
on the
small
way. You're
task,
well on the way.
but, we got to start somewhere. And
Well, hey, you're not off to a bad start.
indeed.
And you look at the challenges that the challenge that Intel had 20 years ago with Intel Inside was really pretty much convince people to look for an Intel chip. They didn't necessarily know a lot of the capabilities of that chip,
right?
But it was more of an awareness thing. Whereas Qualcomm's challenge is we want you to recognize what Snapdragon is, but we also want you to understand, Mr. Consumer, that Snapdragon has these features that are really going to deliver a brand new revolutionary wave of computing focused on AI.
Yeah, that's right. That's a great point. So, and as you sat through keynote and presentation after presentation over the last few days, respect for hanging out in those conference rooms when you look around. We got this beautiful scenery here in Maui. But the key trend there was AI throughout, right? And what that enables. And I think, we speak to Cristiano's vision for where AI is going. It's all of the agents that we can expect to see show up on all of the compute technology that we interact with, where it could lead to a very interesting evolution in how we interact with our devices, going from a very much like a touch, give me a response through an app or a browser thing to saying what you want to have done in human language and natural language and getting the results that you want. So,
Well, and if you look at the technology touch points that Qualcomm and now is fully engaged with, I mean, this what was great about this particular conference is that you spent a whole day focused on on automotive.
right. That's right.
Not to say that automotive was ignored previous years, but to spend an entire day with 400 people kind of articulating this strategy that's all built out of its Snapdragon architecture. You're playing in smartphones, you're playing in laptops.
Yes.
You've got now the auto category. A lot of these things are now coalescing together.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's a very, very exciting period. And that doesn't mean that it's going to get any less competitive.
No, right.
But
I think, speaking of 20 years being here, love the competition because
isn't that crazy? 20 years.
Well, it just spurs everyone on, right? With the competition, the more that's there, the consumer wins, right? When these big companies compete, the consumer is the one to benefit. So,
So before we sign this off, would you like to maybe thank your team?
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Good. Look, I think Team Qualcomm, Team Snapdragon, congratulations on an extraordinary successful Snapdragon Summit. Mark, thanks for being here. It's been amazing to have you here and to host this whole thing. I think it's gone down really well. Thanks for having me on the show.
Sure. And if I know you and Lauren and the rest of the team, they're all going to go on a vacation after a vacation.
I would like to do that. Mahalo.
Thanks again, Tony.
Aloha. Cheers, man.